Our fans have an expectation that technology is part of their experience, and Spectrum helps us do that.
Having covered stories in every corner of Kentucky makes me privileged to serve the state that I call home. At Spectrum News One, we're dedicated to connecting you to stories that matter to the communities we share through balanced and in-depth reporting on the latest news and information, so you can know what's happening as it happens across the Commonwealth and beyond. I'm Amber Smith, anchor, Spectrum News One.
It's 7 o'clock. This check of the time presented by Spectrum.
Good evening. I am Mario Anderson, and welcome to Spectrum News One for our Kentucky Democratic primary for U.S. Senate. And tonight, 4 candidates are making their case to Democratic voters across the Commonwealth about who should represent the party in the race for U.S. Senate. And we want to remind you that in addition to tonight's debate airing on Spectrum News One, it is also available right now in the Spectrum News app and also streaming live on our Spectrum News YouTube channel. And joining us tonight on the debate stage, starting from the left side of your screen, former state representative and 2022 U.S. Senate Democratic nominee Charles Booker, former Marine fighter pilot and 2020 U.S. Senate Democratic nominee Amy McGrath, horse trainer and political newcomer Dale Romans, and Kentucky House Democratic leader Pamela Stevenson. And they've all been invited to participate in this debate, and they met the candidate criteria contributions, excluding in-kind contributions, according to the most recent verified filings with the Federal Election Commission, or also have previously appeared on the ballot in the same district or state and received at least 10% of the general election vote. And before you hear from the candidates, here are our debate rules for tonight. During tonight's debate, each candidate will have 60 seconds to respond to questions and also be given the opportunity to respond if they are directly addressed by their opponent. And we will also have some time for a few brief follow-ups, and there will also be a lightning round where the answers have to be a mixture of yes or no or a very short response of up to 60 seconds. And then we will finish tonight's debate, allowing each candidate 60 seconds to deliver a closing statement. And candidates, let's begin with opening statements, and we'll start with Charles Booker. You have 60 seconds.
Mario, thank you, sir, and thank you to Spectrum. I want to thank my colleagues here, but most importantly, Kentucky, I want to thank you. We've been here before, and it's a privilege to be before you now. And after all the progress we've made over the years, it is the honor of my lifetime to take this stand and run for United States Senate by your side. Now, I know we've been through a lot, and I know you're hurting. We're tired of the Mitch McConnell status quo that Donald Trump is pouring gasoline on. But I'm here to tell you, because of the work we've done together from the hood to the holler, we are uniquely positioned to not only win this race, but transform our future. It's why I'm leading in the Democratic field, but it's also why we are the strongest to win in November. Now, tonight you're going to hear a lot about affordability, as you should. But just know, I have always been about the work of the people, standing up to end generational poverty. And this is a moment where we have to come together. I'm lifting up that vision, and I'm asking you to stand with me, and let's win this race.
Thank you very much. And next up, Amy McGrath. You have 60 seconds.
Good evening, I'm Amy McGrath. I'm running for this open United States Senate seat here in Kentucky. What we're seeing in our country today is dangerous and not normal. The democracy that I swore to uphold and protect 6 times in my life is under attack. We're seeing prices for everything rise, for health care, for gas, you name it, everything is going up. And the health care that we have in Kentucky is getting less and less affordable thanks to these Republicans in Washington. And I never thought I would have to say this again, but we are now in yet another war in the Middle East. We have a unique opportunity with this open Senate seat here to have it be filled with a senator who will be a voice for all of Kentucky. I love being up here on the stage. I love running for this seat. And I'll tell you, that I will be your senator here in Kentucky, that will be a voice for you. I look forward to this fight.
Thank you very much, candidate McGrath. And now, Del Romans, you're next to deliver your opening statements, and you have 60 seconds.
Thank you, Mario. Thank you, Spectrum TV, for allowing us this opportunity. You know, I am an unorthodox candidate. I understand that. You described me as a horse trainer. Most people in the state of Kentucky know me as just a horse trainer. But I've done a lot more than that in my life. I'm a member of the Racing Commission here in Kentucky, appointed by Andy Beshear. I'm a board member of the Health and Welfare Fund that oversees health care benefits and retirement funds for the backside workers. I'm on the Federal Racing and Horse Racing and Integrity Act. I'm on their board as a advisor. And I'm the president of the HPPA here in Kentucky, the largest horsemen's group in the country. And in that capacity as president, I've spent a lot of time on Capitol Hill. I've spent a lot of time in Frankfurt, and I've lobbied and worked hard to try to change some of the rules and laws that affect horse racing. That's when I decided it's time for something different. Insanity, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. We need different type of candidates, and that's why I'm running for U.S. Senate.
Thank you very much, candidate Romans. And next to deliver her opening statements, Pamela Stevenson, you have 60 seconds.
Good evening. I am Pam Stevenson, and I have served the Commonwealth in this country for years. As a colonel in the United States Air Force, I served for 27 years, and they sent me all over this world in 11 countries to fight for the promise of America. In the Commonwealth, as the leader in the House of Representatives, I fight for working families consistently, constantly, my whole life. Now, my parents were a union welder and a payroll clerk, and they taught me that if we took care of our neighbors, our life would be better and the world would be better. This is our time. What's happening now is horrible. We took an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, for the promise of America. And you're part of that promise. It should be available in every zip code. That's what this fight is about, making sure that we get to America 2.0 and that every family in this country has food, water, clothing, and shelter. Can I count on your support?
Thank you very much to all the candidates for delivering their opening statements. And we'll now move into the question and answer portion of our debate. And we'll start again. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond, and then we may have some brief follow-ups of 30 seconds. And we'll start with the very first topic of electability. And we'll start first with you, candidate Amy McGrath. Democrats have not won a U.S. Senate seat in Kentucky race in Kentucky since 1992. That was when Wendell Ford, who at the time won his fourth and final term representing Kentucky. You ran statewide before for the seat and lost. What would you do differently this time to win voters who rejected your candidacy previously? And we'll give you 60 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, we have a tremendous, very popular Democratic governor here who won in an off cycle, very similar electorate to this midterm coming up. And I think this race isn't about me, it's about Kentucky. It's about what's happening right now. And what Kentuckians, this isn't what Kentuckians voted for. They didn't vote for higher prices. They didn't vote for our health care to go away. And they didn't vote for 35 rural hospitals to be at risk, which is what these Republicans gave us. So I think there's a unique opportunity here with this open seat. You know, open seats only come up every 20, 30 years. To be able to have it be filled with someone who's going to be a voice for Kentuckians. I have built a broad coalition before, and I will do it again.
Thank you very much. We'll go to candidate Romans. We touched on it earlier. You've never held elected office before. So why should voters trust a political newcomer like yourself as the Democratic nominee?
Because I think it's time to send a political newcomer to Washington. Enough of the politics, enough of the bitter back and forth, bickering with each other. We need someone that's in the center. We need to start governing from the center. You know, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not college educated. I never was in the military. But I think I have a PhD in life. And I think that would do me a lot of good when I go to Washington. I understand the working class people here in Kentucky. I was raised by a single mother that raised 3 boys, paycheck to paycheck. Then I worked on the racetrack myself for people. Then I was able to build a business inside the state of Kentucky that employed up to 100 people. I think my life experiences will allow me to go to Washington and represent Kentucky as well.
Thank you very much. And candidate Stevenson, you're currently the only person serving an elected office as the State House Democratic leader in Frankfort. Why should voters believe an establishment type candidate can energize the broader Democratic coalition? We'll give you 60 seconds.
I've won 3 elections and an election to be the leader of the Democratic caucus. I have traveled all over the state and listened to people, and I know what they want. They want someone that can lead, someone that has vision, someone that will make sure that they get what they need. Now, this is a different time. People are worried about their livelihood, about their children, about what's happening in the world. We need someone who has experience governing and someone who has experience in leadership to say, this is where we're going, this is how we're going to get there, and we can do it with you. As regards to this seat only being open 20 or 30 years, that's why I believe in term limits. The government is designed to make sure that we make sure that we work well with one another and that communities and families have what they need to thrive. When you stay 30 or 40 years, we lose sight of that. Kentucky First, working for the people, is how we restore order.
Thank you very much. And candidate Booker, I'll ask you the same question I asked candidate McGrath. You ran statewide before for not this particular seat, but against Rand Paul and lost that race. So what is different this time around, and how will you win over voters and become the nominee?
Well, I'm fired up to run this race because this is a moment whose time has come. I don't come from politics. I don't come from big money. I didn't have Chuck Schumer behind me. I built and leaned into a movement that is about regular people standing up to fight back with a vision of ending poverty. And we can all talk about how terrible Trump is, and we should call it out. But the people of Kentucky need a proven leader who will stand on the front line, in the streets, on the picket line, in the halls of government, lifting up a vision to put more money in their pocket, to make sure they don't have to ration their medicine, to make sure they can live a good life. And that's what I've done. Over the years, I've been steadfast. And that's the type of leadership Kentuckians are looking for now. Now, we all have incredible resumes here, but this is not just about titles. It's about who has a vision to meet the moment. I am not a politician who just came out of nowhere trying to praise Donald Trump in one moment and now criticize him in another. I have been steadfast to call out the truth, to fight for Kentucky, and that's why the people of Kentucky are standing with me now.
Thank you very much, and I'll ask one question, a follow-up to each of you all. Is it more important to nominate the candidate with the boldest vision or the most likely to win the general election? And we'll start with you, candidate Romans, first on that.
If we want Democratic legislature to hit the floor, we need to take back the House and the Senate. One of the most important things in this primary is who is the most electable in the general. We need to win the general. Winning the primary doesn't do us any good. You can have all the vision we want, all the idealistic dreams. What we need to do is stick to the issues that affect Kentuckians, go out and win the general, take back the Senate, take back the House, and put the checks and balances back in place that our forefathers wanted us to have in Washington.
All right, candidate Stevenson, we'll give you 30 seconds on that as well.
Here's the thing, that anyone could win when the state of Kentucky and the people of Kentucky get behind them. We must restore order or there will be no democracy. We must do what's needed to be done so our children and our grandchildren can have a country and the promise of America. I believe in the people of Kentucky. If you have a leader that has governing experience and leadership, they will get behind that leader and we will win and take back the Senate.
We'll go to candidate Booker as well on that follow-up question about is it more important to nominate the candidate with the boldest vision or the most likely to win the general election? You've got 30 seconds.
Well, I believe the candidate with the boldest vision is who is most likely to win, and that's why I'm in a leading position in this primary and also strongest position to win in November. This is not just us talking about how frustrated we are and our hopes for the future. We need a vision. And that's why I launched just this week a Working People's Bill of Rights in support with organized labor. Unions standing behind me early to say that we need Medicare for all. We need universal basic income. We need to end poverty. We need to take a stand in the face of AI and protect hardworking people and make sure they don't get ran over.
All right, and then candidate McGrath, same question for you, and you have 30 seconds.
Here's the deal. If you're going to have a Democratic nominee win in the state of Kentucky, you have to be able to talk to and listen to and hear not only Democrats, but also moderates and independents. I know that I can do that. And here's something else that people need to know. We know our democracy is broken. I'm not for the status quo. We have to do things like term limits. We have to do things like ending gerrymandering, ending dark money, making sure that members of the Senate cannot stock trade. I mean, come on, this is a no-brainer here.
Time there for that. We'll come back to some of those topics you're mentioning, and we'll switch to our next topic, though, which is affordability. Obviously, Kentucky families say that the cost of housing, groceries, health care keeps rising. So what specific policy would you push in Washington to lower the cost of living? And we'll start with candidate Stevenson, and we'll give you 60 seconds.
The biggest thing that we need to do is to keep our focus on working families and the different things that we can do. For example, why don't working families get the same tax loopholes that big corporations get? Why can't we raise the minimum wage? Why can't we make sure that people have a living wage? What we need to do is focus on the family, focus on the working family, and make sure they have what they need so their children can do better than they do. We have the tools. We just have to have the will to make sure that we care about, take care of the foundation, which is the working family of this economy. So far, we've not done that. We've given tax breaks to the rich. We've done tax cuts. Just last week in the Kentucky legislature, we took off the tax off of luxury cigars. If it costs $100, we gave them a tax break. Why didn't we give that tax break to working families to buy diapers and milk? That's what we need to do, stand for working families.
And I'll ask you a follow-up question on that, candidate Stevenson. You've worked inside the legislative system. So again, what policy do you believe could realistically actually pass a divided Senate?
Kentucky is a supermajority. We have 80 Republicans and 20 Dems, and we work across the aisle. In fact, I just left there working across the aisle to make sure that children are fed and that we take advantage of all the federal funding that's available, and also they're listening to the things that need. We filed a bill to raise the minimum wage in Kentucky. We filed a bill to make sure that we can end homelessness and make sure that people have a home. They are talking with us and working with us on those bills. We must be
time there,
brave.
30 seconds there. We'll go to candidate Booker as well, talking about affordability. What specific policy would you push in Washington to lower the cost of living?
Well, I come from the struggle. Growing up in what has been one of the poorest zip codes in Kentucky, it has been my life's work to make sure that the people of Kentucky have more money in their pocket and can do better than struggle less. Now, the term affordability has become a buzzword, and we have establishment politicians who have been funded by Washington insiders now claiming to be the affordability candidates. We need leaders who are standing up for us that we can trust. And I've put forth a vision that people are fired up about, the Working People's Bill of Rights, saying that the American people deserve a raise. If you work a full-time job, you deserve a minimum salary of $45,000 a year with a cost of living tax exemption. You should have your benefits protected. We should protect Social Security. We need Medicare for all. We need to make sure that we are standing up for our hard-working men and women. That's why the Working Family Party is standing with me. That's why Organized Labor, IUE, CWA, Steelworkers out in Pikeville, regular people are fired up because we need more money in our pocket, and I'm going to fight it to make it happen.
And we'll give you 30 seconds additional. I'll ask you a follow-up. You've advocated for sweeping economic reforms. Many critics say that those ideas could be difficult to pass in Congress. So what is a realistic first step that you would take if you were elected to get some of these ideas move forward?
Well, it's always said that change is impossible until it happens. A lot of people say my policies are radical. Actually, on the debate stage last night, the Republicans couldn't stop talking about me. He said I was the Zoran of Kentucky and that my policies are too radical. Well, I believe that poverty is radical. I believe that people having to ration their medicine is radical. And I believe that if we can fund endless wars, we can fund Medicare for all. If we can fund endless wars, we can fund food support for our children. If we can fund endless wars, we can make sure that no one has to struggle. My policies are rational, and that's why the people of Kentucky are standing with me.
Thank you very much. Candidate Booker and candidate McGrath will give you 60 seconds as well to share what specific policy you would push in Washington.
Sure. I mean, I'm like a lot of Kentucky families. My family is a lot like many in Kentucky. We have 3 kids in Kentucky public schools. I see the prices going up. I'm the one that does the grocery shopping in my family. And we also know that, and I hear this when I crisscross the state from Kentuckians, paychecks are not keeping up. So what do we do about it? Well, first of all, this tariff policy that was unilaterally put in place by our president and championed by our Republicans in Congress is a tax on all of us. Hurts our bourbon industry, hurts our farmers, hurts all of us at the checkout. Let's repeal that. And then let's get back these Affordable Care Act subsidies. Why? Because right now people can't afford health care. I know people who are nurses who work full-time in Northern Kentucky who spent $300 for a premium just a year ago, and now they're spending $1,300. It is unaffordable. Let's bring those back and then do other reforms like raising the minimum wage. There's a lot of things we can do. Look, if we can spend $1 billion on an endless war, on an unnecessary war in the Middle East, we can make life more affordable for everyday people.
And I want to ask you a quick follow-up question as well and give you 30 seconds to respond. As someone with military background, do you believe defense spending should be reduced to pay for domestic priorities?
Well, look, I'm somebody that always believes in serving our country and protecting our country. That's been my life's work. What we're seeing right now in Iran is not that. We are spending $1 billion a day in Iran for a war that nobody asked for, that the president did not make the case for. And if we can afford to do that, we can afford to bring prices down. We can afford to make health insurance affordable for every American.
Thank you very much. And candidate Romans, we'll give you 60 seconds as well to share what specific policy would you push in Washington to lower the cost of living?
Mario, the first thing we have to do is take back the House and Senate so we can repeal the big ugly bill that was pushed down our throats and take a lot of that money that was pushed towards ICE and taken away from Medicare and Medicaid and put it back where it belongs with Medicare and Medicaid. Give the tax credits back so that people, from the Affordable Care Act, so people can afford their insurance. You know, they keep talking about the tax cut that they gave to everyone. I'd like for everybody to go home tonight and look at their pay stub and see if they've got a tax cut. And even if they did it keep up with the cost of your insurance that's going up? The other thing I would like to do is immigration reform. You know, that's a big part of my platform. I work with the immigrants all the time in the horse industry. And we need a labor force that can go out there and do a lot of these jobs that nobody in America wants to do. And the tariffs we have to repeal. We have to make sure that tariffs are not used to battle other countries or punish other countries. They've already punished Kentucky. They've crippled our bourbon industry. They've hurt Toyota. They've hurt the agriculture industry. We need to make sure that we have the House and Senate, that we elect the Democrat that's most likely to win in the general, take back the House and Senate, and put those things in place.
And I want to give you a quick follow-up, ask you a follow-up question. As a business owner in Kentucky's horse industry, what would you change about federal economic policy to help small businesses? We'll give you 30 seconds on that.
The first thing I do is I do the immigration reform I just talked about. I think there's a lot of small businesses, whether you're working in agriculture, you're working in hospitality, you're working in the racing industry, that we need a labor force that the American citizens don't have to do today because there's so much opportunity. They don't have to take those jobs. And the first thing I would do is put a common sense immigration reform in place. I would stop deporting, start documenting, pull the good people out of the woods, and go after the criminals and the murderers that they say they're out there and run them out of the country. I don't understand the difference of murderers and criminals who are undocumented or documented.
Back to you, Dale, on other topics, but we want to switch another topic right now and talk about health care. We'll give each candidate 60 seconds. Obviously, Kentucky continues to struggle with health care access, especially in rural parts of our state. So what is your plan to improve health care availability in Kentucky? And we'll start with you, candidate Booker, and then go down. And you've got 60 seconds.
Well, one of the reasons I'm so excited and fired up to stand in this moment is because people of Kentucky need a leader who lives the struggle. I've shared my story about rationing insulin to feed my daughters, and a lot of people know that type of pain. So when I talk about Medicare for all, it's not just a healthcare policy, it's an economic policy, it's a justice policy. It's essentially saying that if healthcare is a human right, no one should have to die because they don't have money in their pocket. I have been steadfast to say that we can absolutely do this, and should we do it, Kentucky will have a brighter future. And because my message is clear, we're seeing people from every corner standing up early. This is why I'm in a position to not only win this primary, but win in November. and I'm honored to take this stand.
Candidate McGrath, you have 60 seconds as well.
Well, healthcare is a really important issue, not only for Kentucky, but for me. We know that our healthcare system is broken. We know that for the healthcare that we have in this country, so many people cannot get it, or it's unaffordable. And you know, in my own family, when my father had cancer, I saw how my mother struggled after retiring from being a physician herself to care for Dad, and then she would tell me how hard it was, where she fought with these private insurance companies to get the care that Dad needed. Nobody should have to do that. It's wrong. So we know we need to fix our healthcare system. So what would I do? Number one, we need to make sure that we get back all of these Affordable Care Act subsidies so that people can afford health insurance again. Number two, we need to stop the bleeding. And that means getting all of this stuff back from Medicaid, from this big ugly bill that these Republicans just passed. And then beyond that, we know we need to fix a broken healthcare system, and I intend to do that.
Thank you very much, Candidate McGrath. Candidate Roman, same thing for you. What's your plan to improve healthcare availability in Kentucky?
The first thing I want to do, and it may sound silly to a lot of people, is take these ads for medication off of TV. So Big Pharma knows the ROI on every television commercial, which is about every other one if you're watching TV at night. And if you need to go to your doctor and tell him that was watching 60 Minutes last night and I need this medicine, there's something wrong with your doctor. And they know that they're running up the health care costs. The other thing is, give back the tax credits so people can get back on the Affordable Care Act until they come up with something better. You know, the Republicans have had 10 years since Obama was in office to come up with something that they could make better. They keep saying there's a plan. 3 weeks from now, you know, Donald Trump's patent line. 3 weeks from now, it's right around the corner. I'm going to have a plan. There's never been a plan. If someone can come into a room, put some smart people together, put a better plan than the Affordable Care Act together, I'll vote for it, whichever side comes up with it.
Thank you very much. Candidate Romans and Candidate Stevens, you have 60 seconds.
We put a man on the moon when we said it was impossible. If we're brave enough, we can make sure that working families have the things they need. In fact, if you look at it, you can't live in this body without health care. So why do we monetize it? Why do we allow people to make money off of that which we need to live? We've become very comfortable with people sleeping with snow as a blanket. I say we change the system and make sure that we have Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, because those are our social benefit programs, and also that we extend the programs that give life to working families. We can't continue to make them suffer because we want to make additional money. Also, in the legislative, we filed a bill to open up a rural hospital fund so everyone in the rural areas will have access to the doctors.
Thank you very much, Candidate Stevenson, and all the candidates for sharing their comments so far. But we need to take our first break as we're halfway through this Kentucky Democratic primary debate for U.S. Senate. We'll take a quick short break and then return with more here on Spectrum News 1.
You might think Spectrum is just for your home, but Spectrum is seamless connectivity everywhere. It's the network making the other networks sweat. Connectivity from an actual internet company, because internet is what you actually use your phone for. It's way more than 5G. With Spectrum One, it's 5G and fiber-powered internet, seamlessly combined for the fastest wireless speeds. Don't believe us? Ask this guy. He's one of millions who already know. Oh yeah, and this guy too. Turns out people like their mobile from a seamless connectivity company. That's why Spectrum is the country's fastest growing mobile provider. Spectrum One. It's only the seamless connection you love at home, everywhere you go. It's only everything.
Weather on the Ones. Your local forecast every 10 minutes.
Plenty of sunshine across the Commonwealth today.
Bringing you accurate information from your trusted weather experts, whenever and wherever you need it.
Strong to severe storms possible as this line rolls through.
Your community, your weather, every 10 minutes. Kentucky's calm in the storm. That's our commitment to you. Weather on the Ones on Spectrum News 1, exclusively on Spectrum.
Sundays, Spectrum News 1 presents In Focus Kentucky with Mario Anderson. A half-hour show digging into the issues that impact the Commonwealth, where decision makers come together and examine what matters to you. Your state, your issues, your show. In Focus Kentucky with Mario Anderson. Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. on Spectrum News 1. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Welcome back to Spectrum News 1. I am Mario Anderson, and we are continuing with our Democratic primary debate for U.S. Senate with candidates Charles Booker, Amy McGrath, Dale Romans, and Pam Stevenson. And tonight, voters are hearing directly from the candidates about the economy, foreign policy, and the direction of the country. And candidates will continue with our next topic, and we'll talk about foreign policy and national security. Obviously, national security remains front and center for many, especially as this U.S.-Israeli war with Iran continues, and military strikes are targeting Iranian nuclear, military, and leadership sites, resulting in extensive regional fighting and significant casualties, including the deaths of two Kentucky service members, 26-year-old Sergeant Benjamin Pennington of Glendale and Hardin County, and also 34-year-old Tech Sergeant Ashley Pruitt of Bardstown in Nelson County. What limits, first question, if any, should be placed on U.S. military aid to Israel? And we'll start first with you, candidate Amy McGrath, and we'll give you 60 seconds.
Well, I'm somebody that believes that Israel obviously has a right to exist and defend itself. But the United States, and this is already in law, the United States should not be providing weapons to any country that uses it against U.S. law, that uses those weapons against civilians as a tactic. And so that's really important. And if that happens, then we should not be providing those weapons to that country. And that goes with any country. But again, I think this is really important that we stand beside Israel in their right to defend themselves. But we always should make sure that we are not targeting civilians, and we do not allow our weapons to be sold or given to any country that does.
And I want to ask you a quick follow-up on that. What specific conditions would need to be met before you would support sending American more forces into the conflict?
Well, I wouldn't support any more troops into this conflict right now. You're talking about the Iran conflict? Yeah, this is a war that the president started unilaterally. You know, there was no imminent threat here. And I have been to war. I spent 2 years of my life in a tent in the Middle East. Iran is 4 times the size of Iraq. And in Afghanistan, remember, we spent 20 years, $3 trillion to replace the Taliban with the Taliban in Afghanistan. This president doesn't know what he's doing, and I would not be funding it.
Thank you very much, candidate McGrath. And candidate Romans will ask you as well, what limits, if any, should be placed on U.S. military aid to Israel? And we'll give you 60 seconds.
Well, Israel's our key ally in the Middle East, but we don't need them going overboard like they did in Gaza. But they do have the right to exist, do have the right to defend themselves, and we should back them 100%. But as far as Iran goes, if there was, let's say there was an immediate threat, and Donald Trump had to send in those first bombers because the timing was right, within hours he should have been on Capitol Hill and been on TV explaining what the threat was, what the mission was, what he would deem success, and what his exit strategy was. And he's done none of those things. You know, no one can go toe-to-toe with the military of the United States, but they can go toe-to-toe with us in an economic war. And that's what this thing's going to boil down to, is an economic war, with closing the Strait of Hormuz, running up oil prices. We need to rally our allies, move towards diplomacy, get an open channel, come out with them having no nuclear program, opening the Strait of Hormuz, and we need to do it diplomatically.
And I'll ask you a quick follow-up on that, on your comments, and give you 30 seconds to respond. Do you believe confronting Iran with military force is worth the economic and also human cost to the United States?
No one can tell you right now because no one knows. If they would come out and tell us what the threat really was, what the mission really is, and what they would consider to be a win, then we can make that decision. But they have not done it. One thing I do know is there should have been a plan in place to keep the Strait of Hormuz open, because we should have had that plan in place for the last 10 years, because we knew there was going to be conflict one of these days, and we knew that was the one spot we were weak. And that's the economic war. Stopping the flow of oil, everything goes up when oil goes up.
Thank you very much. Candidate Stevenson will bring you in as well about your position on any limits, if any, that should be placed on U.S. military aid to Israel.
First of all, I want to express my condolences to the families that have lost family members in this senseless war. I've worked with the 9/11 Commission. I've worked with the United Nations. I've worked with the State Department. And in fact, one of the things I did was travel around to different countries talking about, teaching about, giving advice on, as a lawyer, the rule of law. And the first rule of law is we don't harm civilians. We make sure that there's not the damage that we're experiencing now. So what we've got to do to continue to be America is restore order. We are responsible, and I say we, America, for world peace, because our word was our bond. Other countries could believe us, trust us, and know that we would do the right thing as best we could. We did not target civilians. We did not do those things, and they trusted that. And now that we've broken all those rules, they don't trust us.
Thank you very much. I want to ask you a follow-up, and you mentioned your work as a lawyer, but also as a lawyer, a Democratic leader in the state legislature. Do you believe the president has the authority to launch military strikes without congressional approval, or, in your opinion, should Congress vote before the U.S. enters a wider war?
We're celebrating the 250 years of this thing called America, this experiment called America. And they set it up so that we would have checks and balances. And part of the checks and balances would be that Congress can declare war. There are some circumstances when there's imminent threats that the president can take action, but he or she must immediately come back to the public and say, this is what I did, why I did, so the world can understand and we can understand. And that didn't happen.
Thank you very much. And candidate Charles Booker will ask you that same question, give you 60 seconds about limits, if any, what should be placed on U.S. military aid to Israel.
Well, as a Kentuckian who has stood with my Jewish loved ones, Muslim loved ones, I've worked the past couple of years as Director of Faith-Based Community Initiatives in the Office of the Governor, partially leading with an anti-Semitism task force. One thing is very clear. This is about humanity, and I do believe that in no way we should be funding a genocide. And we can't be afraid to say that. This is about standing up for humanity, and so no, I would not support any funding until we address the humanitarian challenges and we end genocide. Now, let's be clear. Money is dominating our politics. This is why I believe we need to get big money out of politics. I put forth a Stop the Musk plan to do that. Go to my website to check it out. But I am showing commitment to this fight by saying I will not take a cent of AIPAC money. And I'm urging all of my colleagues here today to do the same thing. We need to stand for humanity right now.
And I'll ask you, Candidate Booker, with regards to Iran, if military action is taken without congressional approval, how should the Senate hold the administration responsible?
Well, only the Congress can declare wars. And right now we have a warmongering president who does not care about humanity. He doesn't care about those children who were bombed. He doesn't care about our loved ones in Kentucky who put their life on the line and are not coming home. So yes, we need to put that president in check, and I would absolutely vote to restrict that and vote against any additional conflict. I understand what this moment means because this is not an academic conversation about war strategy. This is about us making sure we lead at home and globally and stand up for the people of Kentucky. That is my commitment.
And before we move on, I do want to ask all the candidates, is there anything that you, during this last section here, disagree with from what you've heard from any other candidate on the stage about the response to military action with Iran? You disagree with something you've heard, Charles?
Well, I think it's important that we establish where we stand. And I made a point that I will not accept funding from AIPAC. I will not accept money that is being used to prop up opposition to anyone who would call out genocide. And I haven't heard any of my colleagues speak to that as well. I think we should all answer for that.
Mario, I'll answer to that because
we'll let you go ahead and answer, Dale.
First of all, you're not going to take money from AIPAC because they're not going to offer you any money. So it's easy to stand up here and point your finger at us. Nobody's gotten any money from AIPAC. If they want to give me some, I'll take it. But I'll tell you what, I can't be bought just because they contribute to my campaign. I'm going to do everything I can to get the Democrat into Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill. So if AIPAC wants to send some money, I'll take it because it takes money to win a race.
Candidate,
and I won't be ashamed of it.
Candidate McGrath, and then candidate Stevenson, if you want to respond as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with Dale. So this is also about who's best to lead in this moment. We are at war. We need a senator, and all of the guys on the Republican side, none of them have served this country. None of them know anything about matters of war and peace. Pamela and I have served our country. We need people, we need a senator right now who is going to be able to stand up to this president who has the experience of being in war to say, no, this is wrong. We cannot do this right now.
And you said you would accept money from AIPAC?
No.
Candidate Stevenson, what's your response about accepting the money from AIPAC?
The same thing. Until you have experienced war, until you've been huddled in a shelter waiting for the bombs to drop, until you know what it's like to see people laying dead and giving death notices, don't talk about war. And I will not accept money from an organization that that helps with genocide. I am for a world that works for all people because it's possible, and I'm not willing to, yes, we need money and we got to get dark money out, but I'm not willing to sell my soul and have children die so that this can happen.
Thank you very much. We'll move to our next topic and talk about immigration and border policy. Obviously, there's a lot of discussion in Washington, D.C., especially from Democrats, about how to move forward with reforming, if at all, U.S. immigration and customs enforcement, also known as ICE. So do you support defunding or even abolishing ICE? We'll start with you first, candidate Del Romans.
I do not agree with defunding the Homeland Security because it's a lot more than ICE. I don't like anything about ICE. I think they need to stay on the border. They're not a police force. They should be sent into cities like a federal police force. They should stay on the border. They've done a good job of tightening the border up. We know that. Stay there. You don't need to be in the city. Send that money to the police forces of these cities that need help and let them work with their local people. But if you defund, like we are, when it's shut down with Homeland Security, you're also shutting down the Coast Guard, you're shutting down cybersecurity, and you're shutting down TSA. And you shouldn't hold people's paychecks hostage for a political dispute. Now, again, I keep going back to it. We need to win this seat. We need to take the House back. And we need to repeal the bill that pushed all that money into ICE, put it back where it belongs, into Medicaid and Medicare.
Thank you very much. We'll go to candidate Stevenson as well, talking about immigration and border policy and whether you support defunding or even abolishing ICE. We'll give you 60 seconds.
Our immigration system is broken. We need to look at the rules that we have and enforce them. That doesn't include sending people out on the streets to kill people at will. I'm for abolishing ICE because it's so broken that you can't return to sanity. I'm for a system where people can walk down the street and not be snatched and not be taken to foreign countries and not have their ID taken. ICE is infiltrated with the people that are harming people and killing people and being happy about it. So yes, we must have reforms. I know Homeland Security is more than ICE, but for this point, ICE must come out and we must give the money to local police forces who are properly trained to protect their communities.
Thank you very much. Candidate Booker will give you 60 seconds.
Well, let me be clear. ICE needs to be abolished and prosecuted. We need an immigration system that is rooted in humanity, not cruelty. And we can dedicate our focus to that, but it starts by abolishing ICE. And I am the only candidate on this stage to put forward a plan on how we do that. My SALT plan, Stopping Agency Lawlessness and Terror, leads with abolishing ICE, but also ending qualified immunity so that people who are injured by this rogue government agency that is inflicting terror can sue. But also making sure that we prosecute all of these folks who have violated rights, committed murder. You can't reform what happened to Alex Preddy. You can't reform that type of brutality. But we also have to do the work of lifting up a true immigration system that is rooted in humanity, ending the deportation industrial complex. I'm the leader fighting to do that, and that's why we're going to win this race.
Thank you very much. Candidate Booker and candidate McGrath will give you 60 seconds as well.
Well, what we're seeing in our country today, especially in Minnesota, is not what Americans voted for. It is not what Kentuckians voted for. These masked men, many of them in unmarked vehicles, patrolling our streets, terrorizing Americans, terrorizing people, shooting moms in the face who just dropped their kids off at preschool, shooting nurses in the back. This is way out of control. And ICE and any agency that does this, including the Border Patrol, needs to be reined in, needs to be reformed immediately. And I've been calling for that for months. The leaders need to be fired, and I have a plan to actually reform ICE that makes sense. It's on my website, but it starts with this. Any federal law enforcement agency, anywhere in our country, any law enforcement agency must respect the basic constitutional rights of any human being here in the United States. First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, 14th Amendment, everything needs to be respected.
Thank you very much, Candidate McGrath. We'll move on to our next topic, the SAVE Act. It's the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, also known as the SAVE Act. It calls for requiring people to show documentary proof of U.S. citizenship, like a passport or birth certificates when registering to vote in federal elections. And obviously, there's some supporters that say it protects election integrity. Critics, though, argue it could make it harder for eligible voters to actually register. So if elected to U.S. Senate, would you support or oppose the SAVE Act, and why? And we'll start with you, Candidate Stevenson, and give you 60 seconds.
We're talking about the wrong things. The SAVE Act is a distraction to make us focus on people that they haven't even proven has happened. We have had races and votes in this country for over 200 years, and now you're saying that people are voting illegally. No. So if they are voting illegally, handle that. But you don't stop people that are citizens from voting by making silly rules like if you get married and change your name, your birth certificate must match your marriage certificate. If you're a working class person and you don't think you're ever going to leave your state, then you still should have a passport to prove that you're an American citizen. These are falsities that set people up not to vote. They are wrecking our system. If the vote didn't count, they wouldn't be trying to ruin it. We need to make sure that everyone votes and everyone engages, because that's what our democracy is about. The more we engage, the better we get, and the sooner we reach the promise of America, and the sooner we reach America 2.0.
Thank you very much. And Candidate Booker will give you 60 seconds on whether you support or oppose the SAVE Act.
Oh, I absolutely oppose it. And what we're seeing now is the reason why steadfast leadership is important. We have had politicians who once praised Trump, saying that they would work to advance his agenda, who are now criticizing him because we know that Trump is losing. And Trump, as a loser, is doing what he does best. He's trying to cheat. They are trying to silence the voices of American people. They are trying to steal democracy, and he's naming it in real time. So yes, we need to oppose this SAVE Act because it's not saving anything. What I know is democracy works best when the people of Kentucky are heard. That's why I worked hard in the state legislature to file a bill to restore voting rights, which led to the executive order that Governor Beshear signed. That's why I am going to go to Washington to fight to make sure every person from the hood to the holler is heard. We need to break down barriers to democracy, not build them up.
Thank you very much, Candidate Booker. And Candidate McGrath will give you 60 seconds as well.
Well, we all want our elections to be safe and secure, right? And we know in Kentucky, we already need a voter ID to vote. We already have you already have an ID. You have to show it, right? When you go and register, you have to show your ID to vote. I do. So Kentuckians don't need this. And here's what the SAVE Act would do, and this is why I would be against it. It would force you to have either a passport or your birth certificate. And a lot of people don't have that. A lot of Kentuckians don't have their passport. Your own ID here in Kentucky would not work under this act. You would have to you would have to bring out your birth certificate. And for many married women, guess what? Our married name doesn't equal our birth certificate name. So no, this is stupid, and I would be against it.
Thank you very much. And candidate Romans, you get 60 seconds as well to share whether you support or oppose the SAVE Act.
No, it's a stupid distraction. You know, like I say, we already have to prove with an ID who we are when we go to vote in the state of Kentucky, and I don't have a problem with that. But you know, in the United States of America, we're one of the lowest holders of passports per capita in the world, because not many people travel the world in this country. And who knows where their birth certificate is? I know I couldn't find mine, and I know my passport's expired, but I do have my real ID and I could go vote. So the whole thing's just a distraction. It's making Donald Trump feel better. It's an angle to try to drop the filibuster. It's an easy vote for him to try to get the filibuster dropped, which I think is one of the most important things that we have in the Senate. And we have to fight to maintain the filibuster. Otherwise, the minority group should just go home.
Thank you very much. And we'll switch to another topic this evening and talk about government accountability. Obviously, in many media reports, and you all have mentioned it as well, that voters regularly say that they are frustrated with the influence of money in politics. So what is one reform that you would support that would make your own job potentially in the Senate harder, but government more accountable to the public? And we'll start with you, candidate Charles Booker.
Well, the people of Kentucky understand that we've been screwed for a long time. Mitch McConnell was elected when I was 2 weeks old. And we need more accountability in our government, which means we need to get big money out of politics. Now, I'm not the big money candidate. And as my colleague mentioned, AIPAC isn't knocking down my door to offer me money because they know better. And I do believe that we have to address the dark money in politics, the big money machine that I've taken on before and we've stood up against. So my Stop the Musk plan is saying we need to end Citizens United. We need to support public financing of campaigns, and we need to address the big lobbying machine that blocks out the voices of regular people. And it's with this type of commitment we can earn the trust of the people of Kentucky, and that's why they're standing with me now.
Thank you very much. We'll go to you as well, candidate McGrath, about government accountability and your thoughts on that.
Sure. You know, there's a lot of Americans who really don't believe in our government anymore. And it's really sad for me to say that as somebody who wore the uniform and protected our democracy for so many years. We absolutely have to do reforms. We have to end dark money. It is corroding our democracy. It is a cancer that hurts all of us. Elon Musk just dropped $10 million into this U.S. Senate race to buy the person that he wants. He's probably never even set foot here in Kentucky. That is wrong. So we can end that. We can end dark money, and we have to do other reforms. Term limits. We have to make sure that we end gerrymandering. We have to make sure that you can't buy stocks buy and sell stocks if you're a member of Congress. These things are no-brainers. We can get it done.
Thank you very much. Candidate Romans as well. We'll give you 60 seconds to talk about government accountability and your position there.
We need major reform in getting people elected. And, you know, as my colleagues here are talking about, getting the dark money out and the big money out and then buying elections is one thing. But what we need to do, in my opinion, after I've gotten out here for my first campaign, is I see there's a lot of good people that could be running for office if they could get some money to come in. So we need to make it affordable for other people to run for office, to get involved that would never think about getting into politics. You know, there's plenty of people around this city and around this state that could be great on Capitol Hill, but they don't have the contacts, they don't have the people, and it's amazing me how much money it takes to run a campaign. And if you don't know some people, then you have no chance. And we should open the door for a lot more people to have a chance to run for office. And the last thing is, we definitely need term limits. You know, I was never really a term limit guy because I thought continuity in Senate and Congress kept us going where we changed presidents every 8 years. And think about the power that a lame duck congressman would have in their last term when they weren't beholden to anybody. I think it would be great for the country.
Thank you very much, candidate Stevenson.
If this government is going to be by the people, for the people, to serve the people, then all the people should be able to run for office. And that means if you earn $10 an hour, you should be able to run for office. In the current state, we cannot. Dark money must go. Our government is not for sale. And yet, if you want to run for U.S. Senate, there has to be some amount of money that you have to raise, no matter whether or not you have the knowledge, the power, the experience. Also, we have to have transparency with PAC funding. There's money that's coming into the system, and the only reason is to buy power and influence. It is clear that a lot of people say they have a lot of plans, but doing the work, creating the vision, and gathering a coalition that says, this country belongs to me, not rich people, and I'm going to participate with the salary that I have. That's what we are.
Thank you very much, candidate Stevenson. Your time is there. We'll go quickly into a lightning round. So a couple of quick questions before we go into the closing statements. We'll start with you first, candidate Booker, asking about should the Senate eliminate the filibuster? And we'll ask you quickly, do you support that or not?
Yes. It should be eliminated. It's archaic and it's been used to block progress. And I know that approving such would be weaponized now, which is also why we need to hold the Trump administration accountable, but absolutely.
All right, McGrath, we'll do a quick yes or no and then a quick statement.
Well, we need to fix our democracy, and I'm for anything that will fix our democracy. If it remains broken, then yes, let's fix it.
Thank you very much, Del Romans.
Absolutely not. The filibuster is one of the most important things in the Senate chamber. Without it, you're just like the House. And the minority group should just go home. And it makes it much more difficult for the power. Like right now, with Trump having the House, Senate, and Congress, he could just run over and do whatever he wanted with his agenda. The filibuster is very important. It's been upheld by Mitch McConnell, but it's also been upheld by the Democrats when they're in office, and we need to make sure it stays upheld.
Thank you very much on that, candidate Romans. And candidate Stevenson, quickly.
We have to figure out how it's been used to destroy this democracy and fix that problem. I'm not sure if any rule we put in wouldn't be used to destroy democracy when they have that intent. So, yes, it's a rule, but whatever rule we put in, if you have evil intent or you want to hurt this democracy, you'll do it. Let's look at the basic issue of why they're doing what they're doing and fix that.
Thank you very much for that. And that was one quick question for our lightning round, so we'll go right now into closing statements. We'll give each candidate 60 seconds. Why should Kentucky Democrats choose you as their nominee for U.S. Senate? And we'll start with you, candidate Stevenson, and give you 60 seconds.
You heard a lot about politics tonight, but this is bigger than politics. There's a reason that we're here alive today. This is an opportunity for us to engage and build America 2.0, where the promise of America is available no matter what your zip code. I have governance experience. I'm the leader of the House. I've been elected 3 times. I served 27 years in the Air Force, and I went to 11 different countries, the Middle East and in Africa in particular, where I didn't speak the language nor know the culture, and I produced for America. I will produce for Kentucky because I love Kentucky and I love the people, and every child and every elderly person and every working family deserves the same things, that their children would do better and that they thrive. Vote for me.
Thank you very much, candidate Stevenson. Candidate Romans, will give you 60 seconds as well.
Well, I'm a complete outsider. Like I said before, I was raised by a single mother in Shively, live paycheck to paycheck. I have a lot of life experiences that I think would help me help the people of Kentucky when I go to Washington. We need to try something different. It's not working what's in Washington right now. I like to refer to myself as an independent Democrat because I want to go to Capitol Hill and only be beholden to the Kentucky and to the United States of America. I love Kentucky and I love Kentuckians. I want to go represent all of you. And I'm asking you for your vote. First-time politician, not as polished as some of my colleagues. I don't have plans with clever names that can never go into effect. I want to do what is reality, what can really work on the projects that really affect Kentucky and Kentuckians. Thank you, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you very much. Candidate McGrath, you have 60 seconds for your closing statements.
Look, Washington politicians on both sides of the aisle have sold out to big corporations for far too long, and nowhere is this more real than in the health insurance industry. The democracy that I swore to protect and uphold 6 times in my life is under attack. Kentuckians deserve a senator who is ready on day one to tackle these challenges. I can build a coalition that can win this open Senate seat. And I will work to bring back a government that works for you, not against you. I'm Amy McGrath. Join this team, amymcgrath.com. I ask for your support, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you very much. Charles Booker, you have 60 seconds.
Kentucky, I know you're hurting. I know you're frustrated. I know you're tired. And I know we need leadership that can meet this moment. I have shown what it takes to build coalitions from the hood to the holler. Folks putting Trump signs and Booker signs in their yards. I've shown that if we stand up for truth, for justice, for healing, that we can change our future. No, I'm not the big money candidate. I can't self-fund. I'm not being supported by Chuck Schumer. My support comes from the people. This campaign is a testament to you, the regular folks who are looking for someone who just cares about them. That is my mission, because my granddad taught me you fight for family. So this wasn't just a debate, it was a family meeting. And family, I believe enough is enough. And if you're ready to take on the Epstein class, if you're ready to take on Trump, if you're ready to stand up for Kentucky, stand with me now. Go to charlesbooker.org, support this movement. Let's win this race. Let's win our future.
Thank you very much. And that concludes tonight's Kentucky